We've got you covered, Las Vegas. Interviews, insights, and your input are all part of Sports Adrenaline. Here are your hosts, Tony Cordasco, John Castanino, Matt Gutierrez, and Haley Brooks on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
And from Las Vegas, this is the Sports Adrenaline Show. Hope I can make it through the show. I'm pretty much talked out. The UNLV Running Rebels. Thanks, man.
All right.
The Running Rebels defeated Montana State University Billings last night at the Thomas and Mack Center, but it was not easy. The Rebels win in a squeaker, 83-81. It's just I called the game last night. That's why the voice is really, really ragged today. And UNLV wins the exhibition game on a Chris Clyburn drive and a bucket with under 2 seconds to go. We'll take a deep dive into UNLV basketball. The Vegas Golden Knights coming off of a road loss at St. Louis, and the problem continues to be a lack of scoring and not much defensively happening there in front of LaFleur. And the Raiders, they continue to spiral downward. Do we have any good news? Any good teams? Anyone winning in this city right now?
That's a negative, Tony.
Jeez. So they lose to the rival Niners. John Gruden melts down after the defense doesn't show up in a 34-3 loss in the Battle of the Bay. UNLV football, a 26.5-point underdog tonight against Fresno State at Sam Boyd Stadium. And Peter Uihlein shot a 66 yesterday at the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open, and he takes a 2-stroke lead after 2 rounds over Robert Streb and Wee Kim. Much, much more on the way. Tony Cordasco, Matt Gutierrez, John Castanino with a day off. Haley Brooks is on leave. We've got Jason Toktajian directing our video. Thank you so much to Scott Kilbranson for getting everything up and running today here on the video side. We appreciate his help. And Sonia Schlobaum is here as our engineer. We're brought to you by Michael Westra Allstate, 702-435-4211. Brought to you by The Pint on Charleston and Wallapai. And also brought to you by our good friends at the Laborers Local 872, the men and women building the Raiders Stadium and the new Summerlin Ballpark. We'd like to thank all of them, the men and women of the 872, for all their support of Sports Adrenaline. Guest on today's show, Nick Hines, a.k.a. Sarge from TVG Television. We'll take a look at the Breeders' Cup. It's the richest day in horse racing, now the richest weekend. And in the 9 o'clock hour, Matt, we're so excited. We're big WNBA Las Vegas Aces fans around here. Yeah, we're fanboys. We like the Aces. We really do.
What's we?
Yeah.
What's we?
You don't like
a mouse in your pocket over there?
No.
Fanboy?
Time
what are
out.
you talking about?
Time out. You don't like the Aces?
I do like
Carolyn Swords is coming in.
We got the Swords coming in.
She's coming in.
Yes, I'm excited.
And we will have a Swords fight of some sort when she comes in. Okay, let's start off with the Running Rebels. UNLV in action against Division II MSU Billings last night in an exhibition game. But no excuse. Young Rebel team, Coach Marvin Menzies kept trying so many different combinations. He shuttled players in and out. And it was a night where UNLV never could shake the Yellow Jackets. They led by only as many as 8 points. And this is a team that just got lambasted. A couple of nights earlier, they went down to Grand Canyon, and they just got blasted. There were 15 lead changes in the game last night, Matt. MSU Billings ties the game in 81 with a basket and a foul. And then Brendan Howard, he converted on the free throw. 8 seconds left. We've got a tie game. Then UNLV's point guard, Noah Robotham, who I think is going to be a big help and possibly a big improvement at the point. I really do. Gets the ball down court to Chris Clyburn. Drives, hits the layup with 1.8 to go. And the Running Rebels, they win the game by 2.
When is reality going to set in with everyone when it comes to this program? What this program is, where this program's at? This is, you mentioned, a team that lost to Grand Canyon by how many? 37 points?
Yeah.
This is UNLV basketball, and this is the kind of product they're putting out there against a very subpar opponent. And they're a last-second shot away from losing this game.
Now, what were you saying off the air about, I think you made a really good point, about how the way that the Rebels finished the game.
It was, so last season, how many times did we see down the stretch, whether it was drawn up or not, Menzies a lot of times last year would say that wasn't the play that was called, but it was a last possession type game, UNLV with the ball, and there were two options going into that play. Either Javon Mooring was going to pull up from about 35 feet and hope to drain one, or you were going to have Jordan Johnson down the right side, try to drive the baseline, go up against 2 7-footers, and either get blocked or throw the ball over the rim. I don't think they converted a single one of those opportunities last year. It was actually nice to see that they were able to convert something. You get the ball in point guard's hands, gets it to his wing player, drives it in, and Clyburn with a nice finish with the left hand. And we've seen flashes of Clyburn over the last couple seasons where it looks like.
How many times, though, did I cringe when he had the ball in those late situations in games, though? I was like, no, not Clyburn. So last year, Clyburn started the first 20 games, and then he gave way to Tervel Beck, and Beck started, the rest of the way. Last night, Clyburn took the place of Beck, and Beck looks a lot wider and meteor. I don't know, but he made the most out of his minutes last night. He played really well. I feel like
you're trying to be really PC with your descriptions.
No, he just looks stockier. He's stocky. Like he put on some weight, obviously, and he uses now his body's a lot wider, a lot thicker. He's going to be playing a lot of the 4, I think. I really do, especially if Houston gets into any sort of foul issues or what have you. But to me, he's just he showed me a lot of improvement. Again, the decisions, yes, but where does it start with the point guard, right?
Yeah, you need somebody out there that we haven't seen since Oscar Belfield. We haven't seen this team really with a legitimate point guard. I mean, they tried to use Anthony Marshall there after Belfield left, and wasn't his natural position. He filled in pretty well, but they just haven't had a great point guard in a long time. You go back to Kevin Kruger and then Oscar Belfield, and a whole lot of trying to fill holes since then. So, if Robotham can play the position and be a floor general out there, that'll help. But I just, going into a game like last night, and you even predicted blowout. Everybody's talking blowout, and it's a last-second win.
I had a lot of filler stuff ready to go.
That's where this program is at, Tony. I mean, it's just they're not an elite program anymore. They're not even. I mean, they're scraping by to try to be middle of the road in a very average to mediocre style Mountain West Conference. I mean, that's what they are now.
Well, they're going to be they'll finish in the middle of the pack, it appears.
Which is, I mean, honestly, is that even an acceptable?
No, it's not acceptable
not at
for
all.
here.
It's UNLV basketball.
But this team,
there's a certain cachet that comes with that, and it's almost like they've forgotten all about it.
Robotham, I had him on the postgame show, right, last night. So we did a brief on the live stream, did a brief postgame show. And he said, we're always going to have a target on our backs, though, because of the program that we are, right? Of the name recognition, of the brand that we are. And I like a kid that embraces because he's a local kid. I wish he came here from the start rather than going to Akron. Well,
let's be honest. If he did, he probably wouldn't be here today. No, honestly, I mean, that's kind of the way this program has gone. Any of these kids that come in early, they're out.
Yeah, but here's the consistency, and I pointed this out last night at the Open. 7 players returned for UNLV. That's the most in 7 seasons for this program. So that's a huge luxury for Marvin Menzies, for the program. That's a good thing. But then
depends
you also
on what kind of production you get out of those 7.
I think 11 or 12 kids who are freshmen or sophomores. I just think I think that we're at the stage now where we're just tired across the board of rebuilding, right? But we don't want to rebuild.
You talked about Robotham and saying that they have a target on their back because of the name on the jersey. Why doesn't the school realize this? Why doesn't the AD ever realize this? Coaching hires, things like that. Like these things need to be stepped up. There needs to be overall a better sense of what UNLV basketball is supposed to be instead of constantly trying to just reach and fill holes and now we'll just get by for right now, which is kind of what it's felt like for a long while.
Yeah. And what kept the Yellow Jackets in the game? 3-point shooting. They made 13 for 35. In the post-game presser, Coach Menzies was telling all of us that, hey, I only like our opponents to take maximum 17 threes. Well, I'll tell you what, though, a lot of the times, I'd like to go back and review that film because a lot of the times, like that they launched shots, I mean, they were just in a zone, right? And one of their players, Zach Rollins of the Yellow Jackets, 5 trays made, 23 points. And this guy literally has range out to about 30, 35 feet. And they were on him.
Was he talking about opponents or his own team? Because we know that Menzies doesn't like his team taking 3-pointers, which in today's basketball, watch today's brand of basketball, you have to be able to shoot the 3 ball. You can't be trading 2s for 3s.
Yeah.
every single day.
That's what they did.
Or every possession. It doesn't work that way. And this team was horrible guarding the three-point line last season. First game out of the gate, and they give up 30-something attempts. How many did they make?
35, 13
to 35. I mean, they're going to get beat every night against any kind of opponent if that's the case.
I think they'll improve defensively. It's a new defensive structure. UNLV, 4 players in double figures. Shakur Houston, as always, 16 and 10. The nicest guy on the planet. He's my favorite.
And they played a team that averages, 6'5" across the board? I mean,
the point guard was 5'9", and he still was up there launching threes.
Mbake and Houston should dominate like they did inside against a team like this. But, I mean...
Mbake, 15 points, 17 rebounds.
It's just not
17.
It's not a benchmark style opponent here, and you still struggled to find a last-second win.
One of the players that struggled for UNLV, Amari Hardy. I thought, he'd be better in his sophomore year. He was 0 for 6 from the field and a minus 13 when he was on the court.
Yeah, these are not good signs. I get it. It's an exhibition game. It's the first one of the season. But that's not what you want to see again. This is an opponent that you're supposed to come out and just really work over and fine-tune your game and treat it more as like a glorified scrimmage, right? And they struggle.
Yeah, I want to see how the Rebels play with one Pat rotation. I don't think he knows, and I'm serious about this. I don't think Coach Menzies knows his rotation right now. Heading into the opening game, I don't think he
better
does.
Figure it out quick.
I mean, they're good. Probably
they're up against it.
1 through probably 5 or 6, and then after that, it's a crapshoot. It's wide open. UNLV picked 6th in the Mountain West. Still, you'd have to believe a work in progress. They play for real next week. Rebels against Loyola Marymount 1 week from today in the opener. Stay tuned. We'll talk UNLV football. Oh, this is a doozy. We got so much good news. All of our sports teams stink right now.
Just
Wake
cut
up.
the show right now. It's over.
CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m. The call-in number, 702-889-5978. We welcome all of our listeners around the globe on radio.com. It's a free app. Just download it today. And, yeah, before the break, it's just like it's really difficult reporting on all of our teams here in Vegas, the hometown teams and the teams that are coming in, and nobody's winning right now. So it's a real down
Well, I mean, technically,
down
UNLV did win last night. Just
yeah, but
very
the way
unimpressively.
I mean, the fan reaction was horrible too. Like
all 16 people got upset.
well, yes, and yeah, for sure. I'll tell you one
Get
thing.
used to that. Get used
Thomas
to seeing
and
an
Mac-
empty Mac.
Thomas and Mac last night, there weren't a lot of fans there. I don't know what they even announced, but those fans were engaged, and it was loud in there. It was
you know
loud.
what? It's always loud in there. Let's
It
be
was
honest.
so
Thomas
much
and
fun.
Mac,
It was loud.
It's Vegas fans. Look at T-Mobile. Vegas fans are loud. That's just I don't know what it is. Maybe it's growing up with all the partying and just getting used to having to yell in clubs and things like that. You're just loud all the time. Yeah. But it's been like that in Thomas and Mack forever. It's just unfortunate that it's gone from 18,000 fans to about 800 fans.
It'd be nice to see the Mac packed, especially for
I don't see it happening
for the
anytime
Cincinnati game.
soon.
Cincinnati game.
No.
I'd
I'd
we
say,
need a little payback.
I
in
say
that.
11,000 if you're lucky for Cincinnati.
It would be very loud in there because even with like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 last night,
You have to have the
place
lower
was
bowl
rocking.
filled minimum. You've got to get the lower bowl
I think
filled.
the
There's
kids
no
deserve it,
excuse
too.
for not having the lower bowl.
sure.
Well, I mean, there is an excuse. It's a dysfunctional program. That's the excuse. But, I mean, really, it should never be empty down there.
I don't even know. Is that the segue of dysfunction into Rebel football right now?
Speaking of empty stadiums, let's roll
Man.
into the Sam Boyd and see how we're doing.
So the Rebels off that loss to winless San Jose State last week. They play
What'd I
Fresno
tell you?
State tonight
What's
at
the
Sam
board
Boyd.
say? I said 1-6 in their last 7. That might have been a bit lofty.
Yeah,
That one doesn't look like it's going to happen.
it does not look at this stage as though it'll happen. So let's first of all go back to last Saturday's loss at the Spartans, 50-37.
Come on,
Think
man.
about 50 points to San Jose State. Okay, not all on the defense. And Dalton Baker, who we had on the show, we were begging for an interception, and they just gift wrapped one to him early in the game. It was
You
good
had
to
the
see.
reverse jinx finally, which
finally,
was nice.
I came out of my
But
drought.
I don't want to hear it's not on the defense, it's not on this, it's not on that. This
That's
is
a team effort.
a terrible football team.
So
Terrible football team.
So the Rebels dropped their fifth straight game. An 0-7 team racked up more than 500 yards against the Rebels. I guess if you're looking at, for some bright spots, Max Gillum, 387 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had 3 picks, though. One was a pick six. The other one set up San Jose deep in Rebel territory. They had a short field.
Yeah,
So-
but here's the thing. Those two things right there, that would take away from yardage. You get a pick six, so that's no yardage gained.
Right.
Short field, not much yardage gained. They're still giving up 500 yards a game in their last 4 games, and they've given up 200 points. 200 points in 4 games. There are teams that go multiple seasons without giving up 200 points collectively. They've done it in 4 games.
Yeah, one of those teams might be Fresno State. We'll get into them shortly. But Armani Rogers now cleared to play by the doctors. But UNLV says that they've listed him now second on the depth chart. The Rebels don't want to get him injured again off of the broken toe, the turf toe injury, and what have you. So now what happens? What do we do with Armani Rogers? Does he come back and does he start? Will
Well,
it
you're-
be back to the running attack? Will Sanchez platoon the 2 quarterbacks? What in the world now? Because you go from a running offense, and they're finally starting to find a little bit of a stride offensively, right? With a
can't-
passing game. Now you're going to go back to running?
You can't platoon those guys. There's no way. They're too different in their style to platoon them. It just wouldn't work. I can't even understand how that would work if you're a receiver on that team. You don't know if you're going out there to be a lineman that day, if you're going out to be a receiver, because it's 2 completely different looks if you're playing that position with Rodgers out there. I mean, it doesn't work in that way. You can't, unless it's a one-off kind of thing, like let's bring him in for a special kind of situation. You can't just go, all right, this series is yours, and go back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
This team doesn't have an identity. I don't know that they do anything well right now. I mean, they were rushing the ball well early in the year, but that's because your quarterback is a running back. So where do they go from here? You keep mentioning the potential for Rodgers to get the medical red shirt.
He won't now because as soon as the doctors cleared him, he's back. So he cannot get a medical red shirt because it would depend. It's dependent on whether or not the doctors cleared him. And I was kind of surprised, but I did say turf toe. That's sort of a toe injury. Minimum was 3 weeks, right? So he's been out, it'd be about 4. But if he's available, if he's been cleared, he knows the offense. He's been practicing getting reps this week. Why not utilize him? And if you're Tony Sanchez, why not go all out in the final 4 games? You have to play everyone that's available to you. And Kenyon Oblad should get some reps for the future at quarterback. They've got the 4-game redshirt deal now, the rule. That's in effect. And you have to fight for your lives as a coach, as the players. You have to do whatever you possibly can, right?
I honestly, I think you just roll with. I don't think you bring Oblad in. I think you just roll with Gillum at this point.
He needs some reps. Even if he comes in and starts to hand the ball off, he gets some live game reps.
Yeah, but
I think it's important for the future.
I think all you're going to do, well, because what about Rodgers? Does Rodgers play next season?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. I don't know if of course is going to be there because look,
you think he'll get beaten out?
Here's the thing.
At QB.
What has he done to show that he is a viable option as a starting quarterback with this team? Yeah, he can run. He can't throw to save his life. He completed 5 passes the last time we saw him out there. He's not throwing the football at all. He's not playing the quarterback position. He's a run option threat is basically all you have there. If you want to have a team that has a dual threat on offense, if you want somebody that can throw the ball and have a legitimate running game, then you can't have Armani Rodgers back there. Is Max Gillum the answer? I don't know. But why throw Oblad in there right now if it's going to be Rodgers and Gillum competing for the starting spot?
The Rebels also defensively, no one left in the secondary. Shorthanded in the secondary. Jericho Flowers was out last week. Evan Austrie is out. I don't know what they're going to do there. They moved Chad Mager, who was supposed to be redshirting, and they moved him to the secondary. He was a running back, a backup running back. So that's a mess there. For Fresno State tonight, Matt, though, do you think that perhaps this could be some sort of a trap game for the Bulldogs? Listen to this, though.
No.
Fresno plays Boise State next week. Then they play San Diego State after that. Last year, the Rebels sprung that big upset, 26-16, when no one thought they had a chance.
Exactly why it's not going to be a trap game. You think they don't remember that? Not only that, boy, you talk about defense, right? And we mentioned 200 points in the last 4 games. Fresno State has given up 108 points on the season.
On the season.
On
19,
the season.
19 straight opponents under 30 points. That's the best in the nation for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, and this team can score. UNLV can't stop anybody. They just put 50 on Hawaii. They're gonna run up the score on UNLV. They remember last season. They remember that home loss. They're going to come into Sam Boyd tonight, and they're going to destroy UNLV. I don't see this being close at all.
They haven't won in Vegas since '96.
Well, they're going to tonight.
You know what's disheartening?
This could be a 60-point loss, Tony.
Do you know what's disheartening if they continue with this trend? And some teams have backed off in the end and what have you on this 50-point streak that's going on. Imagine if Reno, which is starting to hit its stride, imagine if Reno comes here. They're not going to stop at 50 if they have an opportunity.
I don't know.
And that could be one of the worst blows in the history of this program if they don't somehow figure something out here. Ball control, I don't know. But again, the offense is off. They're off the field so quick. They're moving the football. They're throwing the ball. Yes, it's great, but you need some defense around you to even keep the Rebels in the game.
Yeah, teams, why back off at this point? Again, you mentioned Reno. That's the biggest rival UNLV has, and obviously the biggest rival that Reno has. They're not going to slow down. Fresno State, again, coming off of last season, they're just going to put it on the Rebels. This is going to be 50 points again. And then you've got San Diego State the following week.
Do you think UNLV score? How many points would you say that the Rebels could score tonight? You still think they could?
Tonight?
Yeah.
Against this defense?
Yeah. They'll still put up 20?
No.
Plus? No?
I don't think so. Unless it's completely if you're looking at a 50-plus point game in 3 quarters, then maybe they back off a little bit and you see the backups come in and UNLV gets a little garbage time points, but I don't think they score 13 by the end of the third quarter.
Quarterback Marcus McMarion has played very well. In fact, he's the most accurate passer in college football this season, 70% completion rate. Fresno State's won 6 straight games. They allowed just 14 points a game, as we mentioned. They're ranked 23rd in the college football playoff poll and could be in the hunt now for a New Year's Six Bowl if they continue to win out. So you've got Utah, you've got Utah State, I should say. You've got Houston. They're in the playoff picture, of course. If UCF should falter, they're in at number 12. A little bit overrated this year. and the only loss for Fresno to Minnesota on the road. It's going to be a tough one at the Sam Boyd Stadium tonight. Kickoff time, I think 7:30. Is that it? 7:30?
It's going to be bad, Tony.
It's for TV. So stay tuned. Coming up next, Nick Hines, Sarge, with some predictions on the Breeders' Cup. Stay tuned. More on the way on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
Sports Adrenaline with you is the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
We welcome you back on the Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas show. Coming up, we're trying to connect with Nick Hines, Sarge, to talk to us about the richest day in horse racing, now the richest 2 days in horse racing. Breeders' Cup weekend, they had a lot of races yesterday. We'll check in with Nick. And, we were talking before the break about UNLV, and you just think they're going to get boat raced tonight. I just think it's not a good spot for them right now. And sometimes you have overconfidence.
For Fresno?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Tony. That's all well and good, except the fact that
I'm not saying the Rebels are going to win.
They're not even going to be in the game. This is the thing. And
what's your score prediction? You think they're going to score under 13 points in this game?
I say 55-17 final.
Wow.
And that's only because of garbage time points. There is nothing about this team that should suggest to anybody that they're going to win a football game, that they're even going to compete in a football game. They just got boat raced by San Jose State. Maybe one of the worst football programs in the entire nation. They got destroyed by that team. What about UNLV football suggests that they're going to even be competitive in any game that they play for the rest of this season? They got San Diego State after Fresno. That's going to be a loss. Then they have to go to Hawaii. We know how tough Hawaii is, even when they're not a good program. Playing on the island, they're always tough.
At that stage of the season, if this team is done, they're done, and the kids are not going to be focused at all.
They've been done for a month already. And then you've got Reno, your biggest rival. Maybe they get up for that game because that is the game that they all have circled on the calendar. But Reno's playing really well right now. They're getting better as the season goes on, and UNLV is getting worse. So what's to suggest that they should be even competitive in any one of these 4 games?
Do you know what I like to see here? So Fresno State and Utah State are the top 2 teams. They're both ranked in the top 25, in the top 20, top 25 in the playoff poll. So that's a good thing, for competitiveness, and then also to bring some excitement to the conference, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Some more attention.
It's good for the conference.
It's good for the conference. We thought that right now. I thought we'd be talking a lot about Boise State, but that's not the case. And Boise, I think, will match up pretty well with Fresno when they play.
That's the game right there.
That's going to be a great game. But then, there's no.
Yeah,
here's a team that won't score 50. I'll give you a team that won't score 50 on UNLV. San Diego State.
I wouldn't say that.
I don't think they can score. I don't think they have that type of offense.
Can New Mexico score?
Well,
can San Jose State score?
They threw the ball.
Tony, they both put up 500 yards on UNLV, and they both scored 50 on UNLV. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It matters who UNLV is. UNLV is terrible. I mean, it's just that's where we're at now with this program.
So we're getting hooked up here with Nick Hines, Sarge, and we'll talk about some of his predictions. We're having some issues with the phone line right now, unfortunately, and hopefully
it's these landlines, Tony. Nobody knows how to use landlines anymore.
Yeah,
so we're just used to these little handheld computers now, and
right.
nobody knows how to pick up the phone and dial.
So coming up on today's show, Carolyn Swords, of course, will be here in studio in the second hour. And we're going to be talking a lot about what's happening also with the Raiders, and you talk about, we've got to have winning teams in this market here. So let's go to the phone lines now. Yes, we've connected with Nick Hines. Thanks for joining us, Sarge. How are you today?
Hot. Top of the morning. Happy Breeders' Cup Classic Championship. Saturday. It's a big day today.
Hey, that's a mouthful. So Nick Hines, Sarge, horse racing host, analyst for TVG. Thank you so much. I really enjoy watching you on TV. And you're here today to talk to us about all the Breeders' Cup races today. It's the richest day, now the richest weekends, 2 days of horse racing. It's gotten out of control. Nick, what are the field conditions like at Churchill Downs today?
Everything looks good. Horses are actually headed toward the saddling paddock for the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. Bob Baffert, his Filly Marty's Freedom is currently your 4-5 favorite. He's never won the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. This race was first, introduced into the Breeders' Cup format back in 2007. I obviously looking very much forward to the card today with a total of 11 races that I've got mapped out here. But, of course, the Breeders' Cup format, we've got pick fours, $2 million guaranteed in the pick five. We've got a $3 million guarantee in the late pick four, which is an all Breeders' Cup. We've got some Super Sarge sectors as well. As I am here at the Green Valley Ranch, it's an interactive seminar, and one in which I am here throughout the day to answer questions. Obviously, if we have to make some audibles based on how horses' physicals don't quite look right, or say, for example, a horse looks really great, we can always add a horse to a ticket. But I'm here to serve. That's the name of the game. And it's much like having a TVG essentially host, analyst in your race book, and you can actually go up, and I can also be the complaint department at times when need to as well.
Hey, Sarge, Matt Gutierrez here, and thanks for joining us today. You mentioned Bob Baffert. He has 2 horses in the race. Bob Baffert, phenomenal trainer. We all know that. Has the last 2 Triple Crown winners, and Mike Smith, who won last year with or won the Triple Crown with Justify, is on McKenzie. How much of a factor is Bob Baffert, and where do you put his 2 horses in this race?
In the Classic, yeah.
Well, again, anytime you come in with a double-barrel shotgun into the Breeders' Cup with 2 horses that obviously you got fresh legs in West Coast, you got fresh legs in McKenzie, and you got horses with contrasting styles. McKenzie, likely a horse that will lay, I think, relatively close, and West Coast just sit back. So it's a 1-2 punch with a Hall of Fame trainer that, I don't know how much more the man could do. Having won 2 Triple Crowns over the course of the past 5 years is a tremendous accomplishment in its own right. I mean, much less to get one. But, the Baffert factor is it's a difficult trend to play against. But obviously, if you do, for example, you got Marley's Freedom sitting on the board here at 4-5. If you find some dents in the engine, then perhaps you can get rich. But the old adage, you can't beat them, join them. I've got a very difficult time trying to beat this guy. But at the same time, the good thing about Breeders' Cup Day, they're full fields, like we saw yesterday with Newspaper Record. You go back and take a look at the exotics, the vertical, drive, supers. Regardless of the short prices, if you're a Baffert fan, whether you are or not, you have to respect the program.
Yeah, and again, because there's such big fields, the exotics do come out a lot better. Over there at GVR today, there's going to be a big twin Q as usual?
Yeah, it was great yesterday. It was, surprising that it was a $10,000 pot. Obviously, $20,000 today.
Wow!
I'm a big fan of the twin Q. I grew up in this town. I left Las Vegas in '89. The Twin Quinella was the thing, like back at the old Palace Station Casino, just down the street. I love the Twin Quinella. It's $20,000 today, and the 2 races that they're using are races 11, 10, and 11. The Breeders' Cup Turf and the Breeders' Cup Classic. I believe those are the 2 races. So $20,000. There were only 4 people that hit it yesterday. They shared in 10,000, so $2,500 each. That's a nice payday.
Sarge is joining us from TVG. So in the Breeders' Cup turf race, can anyone beat this horse, Enable? So I just happened to turn on the TV to TVG the other morning, and I caught this early morning workout. Holy smokes, that horse, he bounces, he's got power, he gets up in the air, and just the workout, I was like, I was blown away with just the workout.
Well, she's a real deal. And, I think the big question in looking at what she had done last year, you look at her ARC race, has she lost a step? I can't really say she's lost a step, but I will tell you this. I think she's peaked. And when horses come to their peak, that's a time in which another horse can come in and steal the show. You go back and look at Waldgeist. That was the 4th place finisher. Trouble Trip. There are a lot of folks that are going to get on him today. He's 9-2 on the morning line. He's trained by Andre Fabre, and he appears to be coming in peak form. There were a couple of the pundits out there that said he looked a bit light this week and yada, yada, yada. But a lot of those that you were talking were the Americans that hadn't seen him train when he was in Europe. So I like Waldgeist quite a bit. I know Enable's likely going to be a free square. They're usually on Breeders' Cup Day in particular, like with the pick 6. There's always that one horse that people can kind of key off of and score. And maybe Enable is it. I would not be willing to take it too short of a price. She's probably going to be in the neighborhood of 6-5. For me, I like Waldgeist in there at 9-2.
Now, Sarge, how much bigger is it? It's the first time since 2011 that we've seen the Breeders' Cup go to Churchill Downs. How much bigger does the event feel being there with it? The Kentucky Derby being such a big race and such a great track. Is there a bigger sense of grandeur? I mean, we know how big the Breeders' Cup is anyways, but does it take on a different life when it's there?
Yeah, I would say so. I think the fact that, everybody can relevate essentially the Kentucky Derby to Churchill, but, a championship weekend's a championship weekend. Whether you're running at Monmouth like we did back in 2007, the multiple times we've been at Santa Anita, obviously we'll be back at Santa Anita next year and Keeneland the following year. I would guess that at Churchill, the commercial value's there. And I think that for the fan, they can essentially kind of relate to that because it's Churchill Downs. But the beautiful thing The weather today, 49 degrees, mostly sunny. You still have the turf labeled as good. The track is fast. Main thing is it's safe. There was only one horse, I believe, it was in the finale that got banned off yesterday out of the marathon. But for the championship races, word on the street, everything appeared to come back safe and sound.
Yeah, Sarge, I've been to now 3 Breeders' Cup classics or events, I should say, days at Santa Anita, and it is quite a grand happening. And I wanted to ask you before we let you go, we know that you have a real busy day on tap. For any predictions, or do you have any steamers or anything? Give us some winners, man. I'm begging here.
All right, well, I'm going to give you, for me, the most probable winner for me today. Most probable winner would be Catalina Cruiser in a Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He certainly looks great on sheets. He's a horse that's unbeaten. John Sadler, outside of the state of California Breeders' Cup race, he's 0 for 41. Will that help your price? Maybe just a tad. The City of Light reportedly training well, but for me, most probable winner on my selections, Catalina Cruiser, 8-5 on the morning line. My best bet today is in race 6, the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. I absolutely love Wild Illusion. She's a Grade 1 winner, daughter of Dubawi, and she's versatile. She can handle different services, and I think certainly as far as the value is there because she's 7-2 morning line. She may get off 4-1, 9-2, but for me, best bet, Wild Illusion. Most probable, Catalina Cruiser. And then in the Classic, I like McKenzie, Bob Baffert. You know, he was very high on this horse, and until Justify showed up, that was his Derby horse, his Triple Crown horse. The horse wasn't 100% when he was winning those preps earlier in the year. He's 100% now. And pound for pound, he is the most talented horse in there. There are those that like Mind Your Biscuits. I would relegate him underneath.
Yeah, that's who I like.
For me,
I like Mind Your Biscuits there.
He's a wise guy horse. I hate to sound like that guy, but he's a wise guy horse. I can't tell you how many people like Mind Your Biscuits, but Chad Summers, he's popped off, but he's backed it up with an incredible racehorse. So just make sure you get your value there. I wouldn't take too short of a price.
Yeah,
but
Accelerate coming from the 14 post, not good. I can't. It's hard for a horse to win there from the 14.
He can win. He can win from the 14 post. The thing for me is that while he hasn't had like a busy campaign, he's had a long campaign. And if you think about it, for example, in the distaff today, and you look in Christmas past and the years prior, it's usually the fresh-legged horses, the second, third off a layoff. Not those horses been grinding all year, and that's why I'm going to try and beat Monomoy Girl. I relegated her underneath to win with Abel Tasman, hoping that Baffert could get her back on the beam. I could be a bit of a homer there because I'm on the West Coast with Abel Tasman. I'm not as confident with my selection there, but you're right. With Accelerate, hey, if he goes off as favorite, I'll kiss the sky because I'm going to try
to find someone else. Yeah. Sure. Thank you so much, Sarge. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us. I know you have a very busy day. Happy Breeders' Cup Day / weekend, what have you. Sarge from TVG. Take care, man.
Pleasure and a privilege. At ease, gentlemen. Enjoy your weekend.
All right. Thanks, Sarge. Thanks for joining us. We got a couple of horses there. Catalina Cruiser, the BC
man, get
Mile,
to the windows.
Wild Illusion, 4-1 odds. Those are some pretty good odds.
Bob Baffert factor.
Here we go, man. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
CBS Sports Radio. We're saluting each other. 11:40 a.m.
Tweet at Adrenaline LV. Find us on Facebook, Sports Adrenaline LV, or call us now at 702-889-5978. This is the Sports Adrenaline Show on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Welcome back to the show on this Saturday morning. Let's get into some Raider talk, and we'll continue with the Raiders later on. And coming up at the top of the hour, Carolyn Swords from the Aces is here in studio with us. John Maxwell, the PR guru, is also here, so we'll be talking to them.
I feel bad we brought her in. We're going to talk about Raiders now because it's a bit of a dumpster fire over there.
Yeah, we got to talk about something good, right? So we'll talk Aces. That'll be fun. So does it really matter now, Matt, if the Raiders win 2, 3, or 4 games this season? No, not at all.
It matters. It matters in the negative because you want to see them get the number 1 overall pick. If they win 3 or 4 games, they're going to slip out of the number 1 spot.
Right.
But, I mean, what's to suggest? We keep talking about UNLV football in their last 4 games. What's to suggest that the Raiders have any chance at winning a single game down the stretch?
So the season officially is over. What would it prove, really, if they win more games? They blow another draft pick and perhaps the top choice right now. You really have to consider right now that there's nothing to truly play for. And, great. They won a game. It's not going to matter. As
far as Gruden is concerned and the players are concerned, it shows that you're not quitting on this season, that you're still going out there and giving max effort. And fans, as much as you'd like to see them get the number 1 pick, fans don't want to watch this team lose. You want to see them come out and do something productive on the field. In Derek Carr's first season, his rookie season, they were 0-10 to start the year. Mm-hmm. And that Thursday night game against Kansas City where they got their first win, it was a sold-out house. The fans were going crazy. It was as loud as it's ever been in the Coliseum, and they won that game and ended up going 3-3 down the stretch, and you saw some promise there, and fans got excited about it, even though it was a lost season right off the bat. So you do want to see some kind of progression. The problem is you're not going to see any of these players on the team in the next year or two. I mean, you already had 50% turnover on the roster just to start the season, and then we've had another 15% turnover throughout the season. What are you going to see at the end of the year when Gruden really starts to get things going?
So the Raiders with 2 losses since we last spoke, Sunday against the Colts, Thursday the humiliating loss 35-3 to the Niners. That's a game in which the Raiders didn't score in the second half, and they're minus 54.
They didn't score after the first drive. That was it.
They're minus 54 in the fourth quarter this season. And Nick Mullins.
Well, they only gave up 3 points in the fourth quarter this time.
Nick Mullins just shreds them to death.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. That's about as bad a loss as I've seen. I've been firsthand witness to a lot of horrible losses by this team in the last 15 years or so. Now this might be the one. I mean,
you're a Raider fan, and this is a big rivalry in the Bay Area.
It is.
It hurts, huh?
It doesn't hurt because the team is so bad. Really, what did you have to gain? But the fact that they lost to a 1-17, playing their third-string quarterback who had never taken a regular season snap in his 2-year career says a lot about how bad this team is or how much effort they're giving. That's as bad a loss as you could have.
7 sacks on Thursday night. They allowed 7 sacks in the game, and the Raiders have defensively just 7 sacks in the entire season.
They don't have anybody left on that offensive line. They finally get KO back, and he gets hurt again.
Right.
Colton Miller
won six plays, and he was blocking pretty well, and then he goes down again.
Yeah, he's done. I mean, the only constant on that line has been Rodney Hudson, and he can't run block. So, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to struggle to protect Carr for the rest of the season. You might see a little more of A.J. McCarron than you probably hoped to see, just so that Carr doesn't get killed back there.
We'll talk more Raiders in the second hour, Matt, but Gruden and Paul Guenther on the sidelines arguing?
Yeah, that's just frustration.
He said, we do this a lot when we play golf.
Well, I mean, it's frustration, right? Your team's given up 35 points to a third-string QB, but, I mean, really what can Gruden say? His offense is scoring 3 points against a bad San Francisco team.
Coming up in the second hour, Carolyn Swords is here in studio from the WNBA Las Vegas Aces. We'll talk about her offseason and what's ahead. They get the number 1 draft selection once again, so 3 consecutive years for this franchise, plus much, much more is on the way. Stay tuned. You are listening to the Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas show. We'll be back for hour number 2 right after this on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
We've got you covered, Las Vegas. Interviews, insights, and your input are all part of Sports Adrenaline. Here are your hosts, Tony Cordasco, John Castanino, Matt Gutierrez, and Haley Brooks on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
We're at 50%.
Yeah,
So Matt and I
half
holding
those
it
names
down.
aren't around today.
That's right. Carolyn Swords is with us in studio from the WNBA Las Vegas Aces. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Carolyn, just want us to start off. We'll get into like some meat, and then we'll have some fun, I guess. But the big news this week, the WNBA decides to opt out of the current collective bargaining agreement. And I know you're on the executive committee, right?
I am.
Yeah. And so I want of the Players Association. So I just wanted to gauge, like, what's the reaction of the players been around the league or from your teammates? And what does this do to the league overall? Good morning. That's how I'm going to start. Good morning to you. Hey, hello. Now she's awake.
Right. This is something that the players took very seriously. It's something we've been discussing for a very long time. Lots of meetings. There was a vote, and just after review, recognized that there's opportunity for some growth and really just investment in the players. And so the players voted to opt out. It's something that we're pretty excited about. We're excited to be working with the league in moving toward really helping our league to fulfill what our fans, want it to be. We have a great fan base, and they're so engaged and dedicated to us. The players have shown that how elite they are, and the competition gets better and better every year. So just recognizing that opportunity and taking advantage, and we're excited for the possibilities.
You personally, how much growth have you seen in the WNBA over the course of your career? Just it seems like it's kind of a word of mouth thing. It just keeps building, and now we have the team here in Vegas, and we saw right off the bat that the energy that the crowd brought to Mandalay Bay, and just how much fun the games are. I mean, the first thing we noticed our first game was how engaging it was. It's a great environment. It's a lot of fun. How much growth have you seen there?
Tremendous growth. The fact that there is a team now here in Las Vegas, we love being here. As you've said, I've always believed that our games are incredibly entertaining. Come to one game if you've never seen a WNBA game, and I promise you'll be hooked. And whether it's the entertainment off the court or just the quality of play on the court, we know that the Aces were trying to play a style of basketball that Las Vegas can be proud of. And all these games are coming down to the fourth quarter final minutes. It's very competitive. Any game can be an upset. As we've seen, so I've been in the league for about 8 years now. We've seen incredible rivalries between, Minnesota and Los Angeles, but we've also seen, big rivalries in the semifinals this year against Phoenix and Seattle. So it's just a very dynamic league. I think it's exciting for our fans.
So the number one draft pick again this year for the third consecutive year, dating back to San Antonio. And so you've been around Bill Laimbeer for quite a bit. What type of a player do you think he wants with that number one choice?
That's a great question. I love playing for Coach Bill. I played for him in New York.
I think you have a little bit of a pass now, unlike the rookies, let's say.
Yeah. Our number one picks have been spectacular for us. Kelsey Plum had a great season, showing that she absolutely can play at this level. Asia Wilson was brilliant, really taking the load of the scoring load and that responsibility of the team on her shoulders and making having an historic rookie season. Bill has high standards for quality of play and, the details, and we want to play a very intellectual style of basketball. I know that he likes his post players, but, you'll really have to talk to Bill about that.
I still think he might trade it. Yeah, he might trade it away.
We watched him on the sideline. That's actually, you mentioned going to the games, getting hooked. That's one of the more fun things to do. It's just to watch him for 5 minutes and how animated it is. What's it like playing for Bill Laimbeer and getting used to that kind of style? Because everybody reacts to kind of the hard, tough-nosed kind of coaches, the guys that really kind of get after you. How do you adjust to that style of coaching? And you seem to enjoy playing for him.
I love playing for him. I really appreciate that he was a post player. I'm a post player. I like getting his experience and kind of his tricks of the trade. When he's teaching us, he loves to teach. But he's also, very straightforward, no nonsense. But as a player, that's really, I think, the best thing you could ask for. Kind of what your role is, what's expected of you. and it almost makes everything easier because you understand, like, okay, my job is to go out there and, defend the center and get rebounds, and that's my job. And it allows you to kind of turn off your brain a little bit and be part of a very strong team. And then you just go out there and have fun playing really high-level basketball.
I think that the league became much more successful with the addition of the Las Vegas Aces. We saw the television ratings were way up. We're speaking to Carolyn Swords of the WNBA Las Vegas Aces. And I just want to get back to that CBA because on Twitter, on social media, so many times this past season, it just appeared as though it was a money issue. And even like Asia Wilson was getting into some barbs with fans and people that were not educated about what actually goes on with the WNBA. Yes, the WNBA players deserve more money. Absolutely. When I saw the salaries and the fact that a lot of women have to work 2 and possibly multiple jobs and also play year round, you definitely deserve that. But if you were to go percentage wise, how much more? And then also, what else is at stake with the CBA? Are you looking for better pension money or what have you?
Salary is certainly a piece of that. And really, this is the opportunity in the space to talk about it because our salaries are laid out in the CBA and that percentage. This is where we can actually talk about this and start to try to see what kind of agreement we can come to. But it's also about kind of standards in the conditions. There's some inconsistency there, and seeing if we can instill some protocols. We have a very compressed schedule with a lot of travel, and
it was compressed more this year because of the world the FIBA event, right?
Exactly. So we had, I think, what's normally a 16-week season compressed into about 12 weeks. So when you have teams that are crossing the country and it's the summer, so weather's unpredictable. So just having some things in place so that if that happens, that we kind of know what to expect, have some wiggle room in the schedule. So we have to reschedule a game, kind of what our arenas look like, what the locker rooms look like, things like that. And so it's really a holistic view, making sure that the players who are really dedicated to putting the best product on the floor for the amazing fans that we have, that they are in a position to do that and do so safely. And then because they're producing such a great product, just seeing, what can we do with the salary.
You talked about the compressed schedule and all that, and you guys had a problem with it firsthand with the Washington situation. And just talk about the difficulty, because there's a lot of people out there that just love to pile on athletes and you're playing a game and all of that nonsense. But talk about how difficult that situation was. You guys were stuck in airport after airport, sleeping. We all know how uncomfortable airport terminals can be, and that's what you're stuck doing, and then expected to go out and play at the highest level the very next day. Just talk about that situation and how that led into this bargaining agreement.
That was a very difficult situation. As players who love to play, we, of course, want to be able to show up in front of our fans no matter where they are in the league and really put the best product forward. And sometimes things are just out of your control. We can't control that the weather was, I think it was terrible in D.C. at that point. We couldn't, I think they weren't accepting any flights. And, everyone did their best. And just after spending 24 hours trying to get to the East Coast, no sleep, really very little food, just what we could find in the airport. And we had discussed with our medical staff, they were concerned about our ability to do what we do and play high level, the ability to, react in game time and make cuts and box out contact, to do so safely. So it's not something that we took lightly. It was really a difficult decision and understood that there were consequences, but we just couldn't really put ourselves out there on the floor in good faith.
So as part of the solution, okay, I'm going to fix this for you. If you want to be in the WNBA, you should be required to have a charter jet, a private jet, right? I know it was going to be an unfair advantage, everyone was saying, for the Aces if they took Jim Murin's private MGM Resorts jet to Washington, D.C. But for crying out loud, if you want to be part of this league, put the big boy pants or the big woman pants on, and you know what? And everyone should be required to have a private jet.
That would certainly be nice. I also understand that that's easier said than done. So recognizing
We
that
solve a lot from the big chair here. Yeah.
recognizing that there could even be, just some protocols. Like if you have to travel across several time zones in a day, I think the NBA, CBA has a similar stipulation about, if there's a scheduled game and that team has crossed more than 2 time zones in that day, that they don't have to play unless under certain circumstances. And we had, crossed 3 time zones and landed hours before. So it's those kinds of things where it's just if something's in place, then it becomes a bit more automatic and recognizing that these things happen and there are more solutions than simply, getting a plane.
Now, second season coming up. You guys are familiar with the city now. What are you most looking forward to heading into this new year?
I absolutely love playing in front of our fans in Mandalay Bay. I think we had, the atmosphere for us is amazing. I hear that it's great for the fans, but when our stadium is filled and everyone's cheering, it's so exciting. I'm excited to show what we can do in year 2. I think we've spent the first year kind of understanding how to play with one another, what we want to do. And we're a young group. And so, Bill talks about valuing 2 points and understanding that a possession in the first quarter is the thing that could really make or break that win that night. So I think you're going to, I'm excited to get back on the court with these girls. They're all overseas working on their game. They're doing fantastically. But to get back together, hit the ground running and, making the playoffs, that's the plan.
We're going to step aside. Let's take a break. We'll have more with Carolyn Swords. Can you hang out with us for another segment here?
Sure.
And John Maxwell is here. He's the communication. What do they call PR directors these days? Director of Media Relations. We'll stick with that. John Maxwell's here as well. Stay tuned. Much more on the way. It's the Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas show right here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
John Castanino, Matt Gutierrez, and Haley Brooks.
Carolyn Swords in studio from the WNBA Las Vegas Aces, and John Maxwell, the media relations director, is also here. John, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, so the WNBA All-Star Game, we're so excited about this. It's coming to, is it going to be Mandalay Bay, or do we move up to T-Mobile?
It's going to be Mandalay Bay. We may change our configuration a little bit. Right now, as you guys know, we see just shy of 8,000 because we have that one end zone baseline area cut off. There's discussions about removing that, which would get us about 10,000 seats in the building, but a jam-packed 10,000-seat arena sounds great to me.
So that's going to be on July the 27th, and it's a Saturday. And tell us about how fans can obtain tickets.
Well, right now, if you go to our website, LasVegasAces.com, the very first thing on the website should be a link to get you to put down a deposit for All-Star tickets. Also, if you're a season ticket holder, you'll get access to All-Star tickets. So there's a number of different ways to do it. We won't start fulfilling those until we start getting all those season ticket renewals and things in, because they'll have first crack at the best seats, obviously. So your best way to do it would be to get on board with season tickets, 17 games at Mandalay Bay, starting, I think it's going to be late May 24th-ish is when the regular season is going to start this year.
I wanted to ask you about, I guess I'll call it the Vegas factor. Back in the 80s and 90s, when UNLV was at its pinnacle and Tark was here, we had what was called Gucci Bro on the sideline, and that's where you'd see Mike Tyson sitting down there. All the celebrities would come into town. That's where they would sit. And
he was the worst basketball player ever. Tried to shoot layups before the games, and but he would throw up nothing but bricks.
He could throw hands, though, so it's all right. But we saw plenty of big names sitting on the sidelines, courtside for your games. Mark Davis, owner of the Raiders, seemed to be there all the time. I think he was here more than he was in Oakland during the
got
WNBA
that from his
season.
Dad. Al was a big fan.
Yeah,
of the WNBA,
well, and Al loved Vegas too, so it goes hand in hand. But you had the NBA players here in town for summer league, and you saw Chris Paul was at games, things like that. How much of that do you guys notice there? Do you see when you get some of these big names sitting there on the sideline, and just kind of amp you up a little bit, like, all right, we've got some big boys in the house, time to get going?
I don't think I notice while I'm on the court, because I'm trying to stay very focused on what we're doing. But there have been times where you've come out of the game or during a timeout, we're announcing who's in town. It just goes to show that Las Vegas is just a great gathering place. There's a lot going on here constantly. NBA Summer League was here, and then the men's USA team was here training. And then even we had all these great musical acts. So I think we had Boys to Men open for the national anthem for our very first game. And, really exciting. I'm new to Las Vegas, so I'm learning just how incredible it is, how seriously entertainment is being taken. And I think we just get to benefit from it. It's a place where people want to come. And, we even see the opposing team fans coming and being coming to see their team in our arena. But that just makes for an even better atmosphere. Even if they're not our fans, it's filling up the arena for the game, and it's just pretty fun that people want to come see what's going on here in Las Vegas.
Carolyn Swords is with us, and Carolyn, what has your off season been like for you? I see on your social media a lot of community involvement.
Yes, I'm really excited this off season. I've taken a break from going overseas. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to really be in the community. Las Vegas has been so good to us. It's the least I can do to try to spend some time volunteering. I've done a couple basketball clinics, trying to get out the vote, and also just, supporting the schools and trying to really invest in my new hometown.
Do you like it here?
I love it. It's been great.
Isn't it the best?
The weather right now is fantastic. I'm from Boston, and so this is certainly different.
Oh no!
Yeah, so
Red Sox.
We saw you looking at the. I don't know who put this Fenway Park sign in this studio. It's been here since day one. I don't know why it's here, but you're a Red Sox fan, is that right?
I am.
We need to
so you're talking to a lifelong Dodger fan here,
and a
so
lifelong
it's
Yankee fan over here. And
yeah,
you know
man,
what?
It's not good right now in this studio.
You know what we need, Carolyn? We need a Carolyn Swords fathead in here. That's not derogatory. We're plum crazy in here.
We do.
We are a little bit plum crazy. So Kelsey Plum, they did in the end zone a big deal, big promotion or something at one of the games, and they all came out with these faces, fatheads, or whatever you call them, of Kelsey. When are we going to have Carolyn Swords night?
Oh,
John, get working on that.
They need to give away. Can they give away swords? Is that? Is that maybe a little dangerous?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe on egress as people are leaving. We don't want people to have them actually in the game.
I like the idea. Everybody get some swords.
Right. Maybe
time with
like
that.
inflatable or foam so that we're not causing any injuries.
Actually, that'd be a lot of fun. I think you'd have a lot of fun with that.
Hey, John Maxwell, I wanted to ask you about, again, we're talking about the entertainment value, and where else in the world, and both of you can answer, though, do you have the luxury of having like Cirque du Soleil acts, performing you don't see it at all, Carolyn.
You mentioned
you're in the
Boys to
locker
Men.
room. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's just the entertainment value when you go to an Aces game is just, it's second to none.
Well, and that's why they put the All-Star game here next year, and we'd like to see it here in perpetuity because there's no better place than Las Vegas for entertainment. Bill Lambier and MGM, Bill Hornbuckle, Jim Urim, they want to blow this thing out. They want to make it the best All-Star game ever and then beat it the next several years. To your point, we can bring a whole lot of entertainment to bear that other locations can't, so why not?
Yeah, and you mentioned seeing other teams' fans come in, and that's what we saw with the Golden Knights that first season was so many opposing fans come in, and people sometimes shy away from that. Oh, you don't want to see the other guys here, but atmosphere just it gets amped up to a completely different level because there's constant noise. I think that's the biggest thing that people don't realize when you do have some opposing fans. You don't want them to take over your arena, obviously, but that constant noise, no matter what's going on in the game, I think just amps. Do you guys feel that energy when it's like that? Does that help get you going on the court?
Absolutely. One of the games that I think is most memorable in my mind is one of our games, maybe the first one against the Sparks. So tons of Sparks fans drove from LA.
Yeah, they come in.
Yep.
We saw.
And I think there was a great mix, and our fans were drowning them out with a great "Beat LA" cheer. When you're on the court, I mean, you can't ask for anything more. That's amazing. It just helps fuel you, especially in the fourth quarter. We love it. It's great.
Carolyn, I also wanted to talk to you, a little bit. Matt had mentioned about the NBA Summer League when they were here this year was really impressive because I went to Summer League games like 10 days straight, and there were a lot of promos for WNBA. The cross promotion was really good too. And so, what has the support been like in your mind from the NBA? And then you mentioned all those players showing up, at your games. That was really cool. And they're not there just for show. And, it's like Mark Davis. He's not there just for show. He's totally engaged in the game right there at courtside. But what does that support mean to you?
The NBA players are incredibly supportive. From what I hear from my teammates who have
your
been...
sources, we call them sources.
Yeah,
No, from your
exactly.
teammates. Yeah,
my teammates who have played for the USA basketball team and the men's and women's teams usually stay in the same place, and they're spending a lot of time together. And plenty of friendships between the men's players and the women's players. Tremendous respect for what we're able to do on the court. Because we're going through the same things. We're trying to play at our highest level, put the best foot forward for every game. So it's certainly a genuine support when you see those players in the crowd. I think we had a photo of someone wearing an Asia Wilson Aces jersey. It comes from a real place.
Yeah, and they're talking here. There's been a lot of talk about having just as one site for the Sweet 16, for the women's Sweet 16, just around the city of Vegas. Do you feel that would go over well?
I think it would. I think there's clearly a history of love of basketball here. I know that just from our experience, we know that Vegas is a great sports town. So I think that's a very exciting development. I think it would only be good things.
Did you need convincing of that? Because you said you're new to the city. I don't know if you'd ever been here before, but there's a stigma attached to Vegas. It's not a real community and all that, and everything's on the Strip, and people living in hotels and all that nonsense. Did you need to be convinced coming here that is this a real city? Is it an actual sports town? What's it going to be like?
I don't know if I really knew what to expect. I had never been here prior to moving here for the season. But the very next day, we were able to, head to a Golden Knights game and just see the incredible atmosphere there. And so for a brand new ice hockey team to be just immediately adopted, amazing energy. From that point on, I wasn't worried about, us being able to really generate some excitement here.
So you have a summer internship going on? Or what's that all about?
So I'm interning at the Aces office.
I'm still interning too at the radio station.
Right.
Here. I know what that's like.
I know eventually I'm going to have to retire, and so just taking some time to figure out what that next step might be. I'm really enjoying. I'm helping out our community manager. We're developing some programs for the new year. We now have the Aces franchise incredibly pulled off developing a team and then playing the home game within 7 months. That's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
So now that they have some time in the off season to really plan out what's going to come, we're really excited about brainstorming and developing planning for the next season, knowing that we're going to have a little bit more time. It's not going to be another compressed season, but yeah, getting some work experience in my off season.
You have the youngest team in the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
You're the vet on the team. You talk about retirement. You're only 29 years old, right? Yeah,
right.
It's already looking at retirement here. But talk about being the quote-unquote mom on the team, because I know Asia Wilson and Kayla McBride both referred to you as the team mom during the season.
You keep them in line.
Yeah, what's it like being the vet with a team full of so many young players?
Well, first of all, it's very funny being one of the senior players at 29. I'm used to being
29.
Middle of the pack, and I've been on
your way out,
right,
Carolyn.
I've been
It's
on the
over.
younger side, right? That's very nice of them to say. I'm very familiar with Bill, and I know what he's expecting and kind of the goals in each one of our plays. I know that there's certainly a learning curve when you come into the WNBA. You're playing against the best players in the world, and so just recognizing that any way that I can help them prep for what the travel is going to be like, helping them with the scouting report because they haven't played against some of these players before coming out of college. So that's very kind of them, but really just trying to help however I can.
So now there was this one game where Bill Lambier just goes after Asia Wilson. We went to the post-game press conference. He just is ripping her. She's outside doing her post-game press gathering, and he's over her shoulder pretty much listening to everything she had to say. And he was pretty
We talked about we've
upset.
never seen anything like that
We've never
before.
seen anything like this before. So in an instance like that, do you get it from both sides? Does the coach come to you and say, how did I handle that? What is Asia Wilson? What was her feedback in a situation like that?
I think Asia, one of the ways that she's very incredible is that she's very poised at her age. And she, is our franchise player, having come out of college, and that's a lot of responsibility at this level. And then, the secret's out after the first game or two, so teams are scouting for Asia Wilson. And she just took all of that very gracefully, and just, I think day by day, you could tell that she was just trying to do what she needed to do for this team. I really give her a lot of credit for handling that.
That was tough love.
Yeah, that
was tough
it
love.
was amazing. And
Yeah,
so
it was good. It was a defining point, I think, in your season and their relationship, the expectations that Lambier has, and he really does care for the player.
absolutely. He cares about us tremendously.
Thank you so much for joining us, Carolyn Swords. And then also, John, real quick, phone number or where do they go for season tickets?
Yeah, best place is the website, LasVegasAces.com. There's links to all the information you'll need there, as well as phone numbers and such to talk to a handful of our ticket sales representatives who would love to chat with you.
Thank you so much. That's John Maxwell, of course, and Carolyn Swords. We really appreciate it. Thanks for the hats, too. Stay tuned. Much more on the way. CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The only way to take sports adrenaline with you is the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back on the show. And again, special thanks to Carolyn Swords, WNBA Las Vegas Aces, John Maxwell, Media Relations Director of the Aces, and get those tickets for the WNBA All-Star Game coming up on July the 27th. Let's shift some gears and let's go to the knighthood. The knighthood. The Golden Knights returning home tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. That'll be, a 7 o'clock face-off at T-Mobile. The Knights then head out to play the next 4 on the road and also 7 of the next 9 away from the friendly confines. And this is going to be that tough trip.
Yeah,
You're finally going to agree with me that it's going to be a tough swing?
I've always agreed with you. What I've said was they were playing well enough to handle a tough road trip.
Yeah.
Last year when they went to what was it?
No.
Nashville, and who was the other one on that road trip? Dallas. Nashville, Dallas. We talked about how difficult that was, and they came out of there with 4 points.
Okay.
And difficult road trip, but if you come out with points, it's still a good thing. It doesn't mean that they were easy wins, but we talked about it last week or the week before, Tony. They've got to tread water until they get everybody back. Until Stastny comes back. Pacioretty was on the ice yesterday at practice in the non-contact jersey, so he's close. You got to figure another week or so. Maybe he goes on the road trip, and you see him get in maybe second or third game. Maybe they wait till he comes back just to make sure. But Stastny needs to get back, but that's not for another probably 6 to 8 weeks still. And then Schmidt, you got Schmidt coming back in a couple of weeks, so. They're close. They're close to getting back to hopefully 100%.
They're not close until they can figure out how to defend against the backdoor play.
Okay,
St. Louis executes it again.
You've got, Nate Schmidt coming back is going to help. John Merrill needed to sit big time. He's been atrocious.
It was really bad. I think he's going to be one of the odd men out here.
Well, he's got to be at this point. I do enjoy seeing Brad Hunt out there. Yeah. Yep. St. Louis can score. I mean, it's not like they played a team that can't score and all of a sudden they can score. St. Louis can score. St. Louis also gives up a lot of goals, so it was disappointing to see Vegas not come through on the scoreboard. But man, they've got to find the back of the net. I mean, that's a pretty cliche thing to say, but they're generating chances. They're just not finishing. If I see one more post, I'm going to lose my mind.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing. And then we talked about it right off the bat. First game of the season, we know that these goalies are standing on their head against Vegas because of last season and the run they were on. I think teams are up a little more than what you saw last year.
You're speaking about being up. I think St. Louis planned to have everyone back at full strength for the game against VGK.
Maybe.
So Carl Gunnarsson was back. Robbie Fabry returns to the lineup. Belmar scores the first goal for VGK. Then Howlett scores again. They tie the game at 2. Then it sort of gets away. Alex Tuck got the other goal.
They pulled it to a goal late. I mean, it's not as though they were blown out of this game. It just they couldn't get over the hump.
So Fleury, 5 goals on 26 shots. And that tells you, again, defensively, they're just not there.
You can't put it on Fleury because we've seen how great he is when the defense gives him an opportunity to be great.
I think
but backdoor, like you mentioned, you can't defend those.
Goodness, yes.
As a goalie, unless you get lucky and they shoot it a little wide and you're able to get over enough, there's not much you can do about that.
You know who else was back? And this is crazy. Oscar Sundqvist returns to the lineup after he was cold-cocked in the preseason by Tom Wilson, of Washington. Mm-hmm. And he had 2 goals for the Blues. He had just 2 goals in 72 games heading into that game. Yes, teams are going to be more prepared. They're going to be up for VGK this season.
I think the book is out on the way that VGK plays because the defenders do tend to pinch a little bit. They want to jump into the rush or they want to get involved on the forecheck. And
there's too many odd man rushes, too.
I think
Holy
guys,
smokes.
I think what's going on is these opposing teams are waiting for that. And the second those defenders get a little too far from the blue line, they're breaking. And if you get a hold of the puck, if you can get it away from that forecheck and you've got a guy breaking, that's it. It's an odd man rush every time. And that's what you've seen too often from this team this season is just getting caught in these horrible positions and leaving your goalie out to dry.
The last time I saw a team get beat by the backdoor play so often was when Princeton played against UNLV in hoops.
Oh, man. Well,
I know. I had to throw that out
every time they play Air Force, too.
Yeah, that's true. Belmar said after the game that the team played a good 40 minutes. They need to play 60 minutes full to have to figure out what's happening there on the ice, and that's the key there. They're playing 40 minutes. They need to extend the game.
What is
They
going
need to
on
play
with the
hard.
second period, Tony?
I have the second period.
The second
It's
period has
just a
been abysmal
disaster.
this whole season.
It's we could only compare it to the Raiders' fourth quarter woes.
You can compare it to the Raiders' four
Woes.
quarters
Four quarter
of
woes,
woes.
right?
It's pretty terrible out there.
VGK, let's talk a little bit about some improvements. Power play, they're doing a much better job on the PP.
Well, Alex Tuck is back. I mean, obviously that's a huge factor to bring Tuck back into the lineup because he's such a big body. He gets in front of the net. He just makes it impossible for the goalie to see anything, and he's really good with the stick on those deflections. Ryan Reeves now added to the power play. Another big body that can get in front of the net. You saw the deflection he had the other day. That's your
my guy.
boy.
That's my
he's
guy.
playing well.
Yeah, no,
he's playing really well. And then
he's just so much more powerful,
Mm-hmm.
I think, than any other player on the ice. He's got good positioning, and he also has stick control.
He does.
The deflections.
I mean, we're at practice a lot, Tony. He works on that every day after practice. He will just sit there in front of the net and work on those deflections for 10 minutes. I like Brad Hunt being on the power play because he's a really good skater. He's good with the puck. He's a good point man to have out there running that power play as well. So I think they've played with it a little bit. They bringing in Tuck coming back from injury and then bringing in Ryan Reeves on the power play. I think those things have helped, and they're starting to figure it out. The problem is how many times they struggle to enter the zone, and then odd man rushes when they're on the power play.
Yeah.
How if you have a man advantage or you having an odd man rush go the other way often?
Shorthanded.
Once in a while things happen.
No, but
shorthanded teams should not be beating you down the ice.
It's been so often, and that's one of the biggest issues. I have a feeling, and this is me personally, someone was tweeting at me yesterday. I really do believe that at some point Pacioretty might be moved to the first line. I do. Call me crazy, but once he's back, I just think Gallant is not going to settle on just the way things are in the status quo, but they need more scoring punch out of that first line. They do. The fourth line is the line. Now, everything else in between line two, the second line, has a lot of potential to be one of the better lines, I think, on this team. But the first line, to me, just, Marchessault's doing some things. Carlson, boy, it's a good thing they didn't pay him a lot of loot.
Oh, he's still playing
done
well
at the end of the year.
He's not done. Get out of here.
Stay tuned. We'll take a break. More on the way. We'll talk some more Raiders. You're listening to the Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas show right here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
We've got you covered, Las Vegas. Reach out to us. Tweet at Adrenaline LV. Find us on Facebook, Sports Adrenaline LV, or call us now at 702-889-5978. This is the Sports Adrenaline Show on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Welcome back to the show. Tony Cardasco, Matt Gutierrez.
Oh, we're almost done already, Tom.
Yeah, we've got Sonia Schlobaum, too, on the ones and twos, as we say in the biz, in the lab. We're in the lab. So, Sonia.
Yes.
Okay, how come more people didn't tweet out Halloween? Halloween. Nobody was
No one
like
caught
really
on.
getting
nobody stole your tweet. That's why.
Well, they will.
For once.
What's going to be the over-under on the number of times that one franchise steals my tweets this season?
It depends on if Hallow's on the team next
Yes,
Halloween.
So it won't be Halloween all season long.
No.
But we were just talking about dressing up for Halloween.
Yes.
I went as myself.
Well,
and
that's good. It's a good costume.
Yeah, it's a good one. But
I like
how
it.
about you? What did you do?
I was Flo from Progressive.
That's classic. That's a good one, man.
It was pretty easy.
So what did you do? Just dress up normal?
No, well, I had to come into work, so I had a white shirt, and I had, like, light jeans and a pair of Converse, and I had a blue headband and red lipstick and, like, the big winged eyeliner. And then I had Progressive on my shirt, and then
so
I
you had-
Heart Insurance, and then my name tag, Flo.
Oh, that's great.
I like
that's
it.
good.
Pretty simple.
Very clever. Wait,
and
you
easy.
came up with that all on your own?
Yes, well, because at school,
You
we
didn't
always
steal
had
this
costumes.
from the Golden Knights? Just kidding.
No. Hey, they had a really good Halloween costume party, and their costumes were phenomenal.
They
Some of
were
them were
pretty
really
good.
well
They were
done.
pretty
were
good.
pretty good.
Belmar was Shrek.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Fleury
Yeah.
dressed up
Fleury
like
was
as
good.
his wife. Fleury
No,
dressed
no.
up as his wife because
Weren't
they
they-
look alike.
What?
No.
No, they were like
They were like-
from a movie, right? Was it from a movie
I
or
don't know, they
like
look kind of rednecky.
They
yes,
were rednecks.
I
It
think
was
that's
good.
the proper
Yeah.
way to say it. Yes.
We're not PC here.
What? No way. No, that was good. My son really liked William Carlson because he
That
had-
was great.
he had the
What was
Fortnite.
Carlson?
It was Fortnite.
Oh, Fortnite,
Characters
yeah.
from Fortnite.
That was
My
really
son,
good.
obviously 13 years old, is into the Fortnite.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was fun.
Well, that's good. So is Halloween following you over? One of my friends in L.A. tweeted out
done.
yesterday that people in Hollywood were still wearing their costumes.
Well,
But
now
they wear
They
them
wear 'em every day,
year
right?
round. That's true.
but now it's officially holiday season, so Christmas music.
Oh,
It's
No more spooky season.
yeah. I
a
already,
wrap.
you know what? I got a little sentimental. I broke out some Christmas music
Wow.
a couple weeks ago.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
that's too
When it's
early.
still like 90 outside, I don't want to hear
What
Christmas
was
music.
it? It was a brand new CD, but it was pretty good. I'll let you know.
What's
I'll
a
fill you
CD?
in. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
It
just
was-
kidding, I'm
It was
kidding.
a brand
we
new
had to
stream.
teach you about a Rolodex
Yeah,
a few
Rolodex.
weeks
I
ago.
knew what
so-
it was. I didn't know the name.
You
Okay.
didn't
No.
But she's pretty hip. She knows about Flo from Progressive.
Yes, that I do. If they need a new flow, Progressive.
Thanks,
I'm here for
Sonia.
ya.
You're the slow bomb. You're the bomb. John Gruden, after the game, right? Raiders, he said, okay, we struggled, and I take the responsibility. So how much of John Gruden is just poor coaching? How much of it is mad genius and that he knows what's going on and he really knows that he has areas of concern that he needs to fix?
Here's what I find is funny is national media is piling on John Gruden, saying that he can't coach anymore. It's the game's passed him by.
I love
all
that.
this.
I love that because
Who-
we both know
who
that
the hell is he
can.
coaching?
I know.
This is a JV team in terms of NFL roster. You look at what you expected to have going into the season, right? Marshawn Lynch, gone. Probably never going to play again. Amari Cooper, gone. Your offensive line, for the most part, gone. Khalil Mack, gone. You're just now playing Gary and Connolly. Nelson is just now coming back. This is not the team that you expected to see on the field going into the season. So many pieces have been moved around. This is not. You really don't have a whole lot on this team that can start in the NFL for any quality team. That's what you're dealing with on a day-to-day. Of course they're losing. They're now losing in spectacular fashion, which is very disheartening. But like I mentioned earlier in the show, this is not a team that you're going to see on the field next season. You're only going to see maybe, 15, 20% of these guys on this roster next year?
You get the feeling that he's already starting to weed out some of the players. Oh, yeah, I figured it out. It was Jesse J's new holiday music CD / 8-track.
Like a paragraph-long title.
No, Jesse J. You got to check it out, though. It's really good music.
I don't think it's
think
gonna
Boyz II
happen.
Men is on there, too.
You know who she's dating? Pop culture news.
Yeah, the guy who just...
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, what's Duan's ex-husband?
Yes, Jenna. Yes,
Jenna Duan's ex-husband. Yeah,
They look a lot alike.
They like the flurries. like the flurries.
Get over that.
So, hey, I want to. So again, you have a lot of players already. You feel are starting to get weeded out, but the defense just absolutely quit on that one play. Raheem Mostert's 52 yards, a touchdown run. Nobody wanted to tackle him.
What about the first touchdown of the game to Pierre Garçon?
Oh,
what
is
the
that
hell
when-
is Reggie Nelson doing? So it's a play action.
Right. So
it's
Conley,
a play action.
Conley and Worley started at the corners, right? And Nelson and Gilchrist were the safeties. Go
Nelson
ahead,
should
take
never
it from
play safety again.
Right.
But you've got to play action. Okay, fine. If you bite on the play action, that's fine. But you got to get depth. You got to turn around and get depth the second you recognize the quarterback has the ball. He sees him roll out, and he just stands there 5 yards off the ball, line of scrimmage. This is your deep safety. Your over-the-top guy. Pierre Garçon is already 12 yards behind him. That was the easiest touchdown of the entire season. Reggie Nelson should not be playing safety anymore. I don't know why they continue to throw this guy out there. Throw Carl Joseph out there as much as you can and see what he's got for the remainder of the season, because you know what Reggie Nelson doesn't have, and that's game. It's over.
So why did Bruce Irvin play just 9 snaps?
I think he quit. I think he quit 3 weeks ago. I don't think Bruce Irvin cares to even be there. What's the point of putting him on the field? He's not going to do anything. I mean, you see a lot of these guys at the snap of the ball don't even look like they're trying to get pressure. It's standing straight up, not disengaging from blocks. It's a total team effort as far as quitting on the season. Now, that's not to say that guys aren't out there playing hard, because there are plenty of those guys out there, but it's tough to say that you're giving max effort when you get beat the way that you did against a team like San Francisco.
I didn't have to yell very much, so the voice held out today. That's pretty good.
Well, John's not here, so you didn't have anybody to yell at.
I would have been, the voice would have been broken after the 2-hour-plus Rebel game that was nip and tuck back and forth. Rebels pull it out over a D2 opponent last night. Hey, we'd like to thank our guest today, Nick Hines, a.k.a. Sarge. Do we have his picks again?
Yeah, we've got Wild Illusion, race number 6. We got Catalina Cruiser in the Dirt Mile.
Do it.
And McKenzie. McKenzie.
Yeah, take McKenzie in the classic.
Bob Baffert's horse.
Yep. And, of course, we'd like to thank Carolyn Swords and John Maxwell coming by from the WNBA Las Vegas Aces. We like them even more because they brought some gifts. They brought us all hats.
We got hats, Tony.
It's so nice of them to do that. Thanks again to our sponsors, Michael Wester Allstate. Also by the Laborers Local 872, the men and women building the Raiders Stadium and the new Summerlin Ballpark. You'll be back tomorrow, of course.
Tomorrow morning to
Silver and Black
further
today.
talk about how awful the Raiders are. Can't wait.
Silver and Black tomorrow, we should say.
Yeah.
So that's on from 8 to 10 tomorrow morning for Matt Gutierrez. And, of course, for Sonia Schlobaum, for Jason Talktagian. We thank everyone for tuning in. I'm Tony Cardasco. So long for now on the Sports Adrenaline Las Vegas show.